MRS TV welcomes Gary Messing, retiring editor-in-chief of the Journal of Material Research. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
So the Essentials of Getting Your Work Published session is a popular reoccurring session at the MRS meetings. Tell us a little bit more about what happens in these sessions.
The Essentials of Publishing is a mechanism for the editors of the various MRS journals to communicate, the types of things that we're doing in terms of publishing papers. We're able to address some questions that young scholars have about publishing a paper, the kinds of papers that there are out there, letters, reviews, and like that. But also we talk a lot about the quality of the submission.
So what are the most common questions you hear among young researchers?
Yeah, well, there's always a lot of concern about, what's the right way to submit your paper. That's one issue, but the other type of issue is there's a lot of concern about, let's say, who's going to review my paper. Our advice always is, at the meeting, there are experts in your area that are excited about the kind of research you're doing, and so we advise them, get those individuals on board as potential reviewers for your paper. But there's a lot of guidance in the Essentials of Publishing in terms of how to position your paper in that regard.
So what are some common pitfalls that young researchers stumble into when they're just beginning to submit their publication?
You have to recognize that there are authors all over the world, and sometimes guidance is not given on the submission letter. So the submission letter might be as simple as, here's my paper, would you please review it for your journal? Well, that's unfortunately a black mark against the author. And it kind of puts a negative spin on your paper before it even gets considered. So the submission letter is really, really key. That's one pitfall. And the other pitfall is not reading the aims and scopes of the journal. So spending a little bit more time determining which paper or which journals are appropriate for your paper is really a key part of the submission process.
That's some great advice. You've been editor-in-chief of the Journal of Material Research since 2009.
Yes.
What are some of your biggest accomplishments during that time?
Well, I think the journal and as a whole has improved substantially. The only way that we can judge that is by looking at things like impact factor. But I think the things that we've done to get there are important. So our editorial board has done a super job of really doing a hard job of providing quality reviews, quality feedback, and making hard decisions about papers that don't quite meet the standard that we're adhering to. Another thing that we've done is that the journal is much more closely aligned with the MRS meeting itself.
Well, thank you so much, Gary, for joining us today, and I wish you luck in all your future endeavors.
Very good. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.